Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at id10t.com, like Russ Stevens, aka Cool Movies Darth, who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guests and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, Ninety, 4 FOR, chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at id10t.com for everyone else.
This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy!
90 for Chill, the podcast, proudly presents to you Ali's Accessories Shop on Etsy's Trash Feature Revue.
Down here for a second. I need to talk to you. What do you want from me?
All Michael wanted to do was to fit in.
You don't know how much I've been through in my life, Jada. From the time I've been kicked on, pushed on, spit on, bullied, you have no idea.
But when he realized that it would never happen,
I swear I'll leave Jada alone, I swear.
he turned to the one thing he knew could even the score. A badass mofo from the horror hood, known as Killjoy.
You are in great danger. Only the love of a young woman can destroy the evil in the heart.
And I've just endured Killjoy from 2000, part of the 12-movie Full Moon Pictures DVD set Ali got me, which features 9 puppet masters and the 2 sequels to this piece of garbage. So it's really kind of insulting that Charles Band, I think, wanted to put his name onto this. Yes, it probably cost less than $50,000 to make, and that's not necessarily a crime. It's actually going to make me rewatch movies that I kind of got me into the idea of doing low budget cinema. Hence, Main Event of the Dead, my zombie comedy. So yeah, I got to watch those. Maybe I was just perhaps too drunk, I guess. Those are back at the Drunken Zombie double features. So maybe I was just a little more just having fun with an audience. So I guess that's homework for this week. But this film is about a boy, teen, I don't know, ages are pretty weird in this one. Michael, who is infatuated with the girlfriend of a gang leader. Jada is the girlfriend. I think Lorenzo is the gang leader. And after getting beaten down by them, the gang, he decides that he's going to use black magic to bring a vengeful spirit alive, or at least back to this realm, via a clown doll. Unfortunately for him, he is murdered before the clown can arrive. And a year later, the clown is going to fulfill his quest for vengeance and try to get Michael back together with Jada. So the acting is not good. I'm not going to say it's below community theater, but I mean, I guess you just got to say there's nothing funny about the script. So, and that's just it. Nothing good to work with. So I'm not going to blame the actors. The special effects are all done in post, meaning computers, in the year 2000. So obviously that is going to look like garbage. And there's not even, like, this is a full moon feature, you know? We need some genuine practical gore or something really clever. And this isn't Evil Bong with Tommy Chong, where they at least build things. This story could have been done without the first 25 minutes. It's a 72-minute movie. And so, yeah, a 50-minute movie of just, I mean, it's like, just, geesh. Yeah, I'm trying to be not so judgmental about it. I guess, you know, you can appreciate the effort, especially since this is an all-black cast, to try to create something. And I'm sure a lot of friends got around our director and helped make this happen. So I guess you have to admire the fact that they at least got it done. But again, there's no cool gore effects at all. Everything, like, guy gets hit by a truck, you don't see a truck hitting a guy. Guy gets set on fire, well, they just let the flames, CG flames, like PlayStation level CG flames, just go over him. You don't see any burning or anything like that. This is the first time, I guess, I know I've enjoyed some movies where all the gunshots are done in post. This one doesn't work. It's an insult to the Rambo scene from UHF. So it's just like, the moment you see the doll summoning sequence, and again, nothing real special about that, you know you've just gone and you're just going to end up wasting your time with this feature. It's, yeah. I'm trying, and honestly, you're just spending, like, okay, it's low budget. I mean, I want to do a low budget movie, and I should say no budget movie, and you just want to find something to like about the feature, but the humor is non-existent. As I say, the violence is unconvincing, and there's just nothing to scream great horror with this feature. So, I guess, yes, I gotta watch the movie Zombie Apocalypse to see if I am being too harsh on this feature. You know, my worst fear is it might be a cultural thing. Oh, some kids who filmed some yuppies who filmed a movie in Michigan versus guys who may have just shot this as a college film. You know, it's just, oh, yeah, not how I wanted to end my night, and at least I know that I'm not going to have to revisit any of the sequels, unless Terrifier inspires me. But, you know, I'm not rushing to see that one. Not because of the gore or anything. It's just like, you know, it's really just selling itself on a killer clown. And maybe just not going to beat the Kyoto brothers.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Thank you for checking out 90 for Chill, the podcast with CatBusRuss. This is your host, CatBusRuss, and I hope the past 10 minutes kind of gave you a vibe about what this episode is going to be about. So, going through Ali's Accessories Shop on Etsy's Trash Feature Revue DVD stack, I got through the H, the I, the J, and I figured, okay, well, based on my marathon concept, if this was a movie theater, you know, my 6, 8, 10, and midnight show, hopefully the K movie will be a good midnight show, and it absolutely is not. I'm going to get back to that because I have been communicating with Ali in regards to getting a podcast together. So we will have a marathon episode doing G, H, and I. This episode will be about just my frustration with low-budget or no-budget movies, I suppose. Inspired by the Cinema Snob, Brad Jones, at QuadCon in Peoria last weekend, I decided to give Shocking Dark, officially known as Terminator 2 on IMDb, an Italian exploitation movie, a go. And, that further feeded into my frustration. To counter that, I'm going to offer a couple of movies that should show you that just because something's low budget doesn't mean it has to be bad, I suppose, is what I'm getting at. Killjoy really was a kick in the dick when it came to how awful it was, and I just had to make sure that the low-budget movies that I kind of got into and are that inspired me to write my screenplay, Main Event of the Dead, a pro wrestling zombie comedy, asked for a treatment via my email, russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send you a treatment. Otherwise, so I just really needed to make sure I know that it's okay to like some low budget and not all low budget. And that's what this episode will be about. Next week, though, I should have a guest on the show, and we're going to cover ironically, I should say, a Charles Band classic. Again, it also tells you that, you know, some producers are just out to produce content, and they really could care less about the quality as long as they can get a quick buck. That feature that'll be discussed, you can go to 90forchill.blogspot.com, and you can find that movie review there. I'm happy to revisit this one, so there are some classics in there. So that's what the episode will be about this week. If you want to be a guest on the show, I'll just run down things. I'm going to be at Fan Expo in Rosemont the weekend of the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. So I am going to have coverage of that convention. So don't expect a new episode or an episode with a guest. If you're at Fan Expo, though, I'd be happy to have you on in the show. We'll figure something out and record a podcast right there. But I digress. That means the 15th episode's been taken. So, you know, if we can get a guest on the show for the 22nd or the 29th at the latest, I think I'm doing pretty well. If you want to be that guest, again, email russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter at CatBusRuss. We're not going to call it X. And you could also follow me, preferably, though, on Mastodon. My username there is Russ Stevens. I'm sorry, back up. Yes, I know, this is probably the biggest detractor from Mastodon, but my username there is at Russ Stevens at Mastodon.social. That's Stevens, Stevens, and go from there. Just offer me a movie, a theme, a director, an actor. Try to focus on sub 100-minute movies, but I can make anything work if you're willing to put the work in too. So thanks for checking out 90 for Chill, the podcast. And before I go, since this is just going to be another more reviews, let me go and thank Stacia Harden for keeping an eye on me, especially after the trivia dehydration yesterday. I was at the Tournament of Champion for free pub trivia, or what do you know trivia, in Chicago, and, you know, a 52-hour week in a retail setting, too many people going through the doors. It's like, you know, that's what happens when or what your parents mean by, are you trying to air condition the entire neighborhood? I'm recovered from that, and thanks for keeping an eye on me there, Stacia, and I hope Skimble is amusing you enough up there too, the one-eared angel. Thanks again for coming to 91st Chill, the podcast. Rate and subscribe on your favorite apps, 5 stars preferably, and be as honest as you want with your text. on to the show.
They thought they were fighting only against aliens. They were sure that they had won their battle, but they were mistaken. Shocking Dark.
And I've just concluded Bruno Mattei's Shocking Dark, officially known as Terminator 2. It's an Italian exploitation science fiction film which tries to combine aliens and Terminator. And it does not do well. And it's kind of sad because there's a lot of ideas that I could think may have been used in other movies. Like there's a concept of a mutant pathogen that can change somebody if inhaled. And it's like, well, that's kind of like Alien Covenant. And, well, that's one thing that just comes to immediate mind. But a lot of set pieces, which I think could have been used in other works. So I'm not saying it's a total waste of time, but you got a great setup to start, and then once they get to, okay, we've discovered the evils of the corporation, it turns into an entirely heartless take on aliens, and it's just downright insulting. I mean, they are ripping dialogue off from the feature, and not convincingly. The actress, who I think this is her only credit, who plays the Ripley placeholder, is just bland. They replace Newt with a girl who's way too old to be convincing as a child. And as I say, they rip off entire dialogue sequences. And it kind of, and it, without the budget of Aliens, they even just try shoehorning things in. Like when a robot gets electrocuted, somehow that knocks our girl off into a slide situation and gets captured by aliens. Like, as I say, they pretty much rip the dialogue straight up. Try imagining doing the Meta Bay scene in Aliens without facehuggers. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Like, there's a continuity credit in the film's credits, and no, there is none to be claimed. And then by the end, it's kind of funny when they introduce the Terminator element. There's a great, just a laughable bit where he's loses a round in this battle to a fire extinguisher, professional wrestling style, and I'll leave it at that, not the sadness style. If you've listened to that podcast, Gregory Carl. And then time travel suddenly gets thrown in there. So as I say, for the ending, that's kind of just fun and stupid, but there's no heart in the middle of it and no conviction in the acting. Direction is pretty sloppy as well. I mean, even for Bruno Mattei. So, yeah, I went to this one because my conversation with Brad Jones, the Cinema Snob, at QuadCon in Peoria, and I don't know, I might have to watch his Cinema Snob just to see if there's any way to make to have fun recollection of this experience. Because, yeah, aside from some, well, this could be interesting and may have been ripped from this movie bits, it's just, again, heartless. That's the worst kind of cinema, is that without a heart. And with exploitation cinema, if you're not going to, basically it goes back to this, if you're not really going to put your own spin on the stuff you're ripping off, then you're just wasting time. Like Zombie, Lucio Fulci's probably most well-known feature. Like, yeah, it's a zombie movie in a desert island, which is trying to be the sequel to Dawn of the Dead, since the official title of the Italian feature is Zombie 2. Zombie was Dawn of the Dead, the Argento cut. But you know, it doesn't really do it. It doesn't say, oh, this is definitely Dawn of the Dead all over again. We get a shark versus a zombie. Never mind the gore. That is something that could have saved this movie if you just would have gone and give us some credible kills, credible makeup effects. And it's just not there. And dare I say, from my other Bruno Mattei experience, which would be the Women Prison Massacre films, which I got as a door prize at a Drunken Zombie event, there's just nothing visually appealing to his features, except maybe Rat, when you discuss Rat Night of Terror, which the Cinema Snob and I did talk about as well. So definitely not worth your time, even if you have to see what Terminator and Aliens, if combined, could be.
Hello there.
Pardon the interruption, and let me apologize if the audio on the Shocking Dark trailer was a little weak. I just caught that I may have had it Audacity set to record from the microphone instead of the computer itself, yada yada yada. But I'd also like to let you know that it will be an MCU next Tuesday. I'm looking for that movie, but it's currently only available on Starz, and I wasn't able to find a used copy. But, you know, on the brighter side, I did find a used copy of Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth and Lance Henriksen, so I'll get around to that at some point as well. So that's all I really got to add, and back to the show.
Agent Net, the man who could find and catch anyone, anywhere, except it seems for the one who trained him.
Dwight Miller is nothing.
Dwight Miller has escaped. All you had to do was terminate him, and you failed.
Not only did Dwight Miller escape from your custody multiple times, but in your last encounter, you saw it fit to breach your security clearance level and utilize multiple unauthorized test subjects to aid in his capture.
You have a choice to make. Either you die here, or you kill Miller.
Let's party!
They eat the flesh of the living. It spreads.
You're not gonna become one of them, okay?
We have a problem. How big is the problem?
No!
But money needs some help, right?
Wait!
And then we got to the zombies.
Now let's get the... Oh!
And I've just revisited Zombie Apocalypse from 2010, not the Zombie Apocalypse with Ving Rhames, which was, I guess, Sci-Fi's attempt. Probably Asylum was involved to capitalize on his appearance in Dawn of the Dead 2004, which I wasn't really a fan of, but I digress. And again, I watched this feature pretty much because it's like, well, I really despise Killjoy, and, you know, it's all really about what kind of script you're working with. And I'm not saying there's much script this one. It's a zombie apocalypse in Michigan, and two college guys run into the kind of survivalist and are just looking to stay alive. And I mean, it's silly, and this movie really appreciates the silliness. It's pretty much the project of Ryan Thompson. If you watch the credits, he's more than just the editor, director, producer. He's in every element of it. So A lot of heart on his behalf, which I have to appreciate. It is, as I say, it knows it's silly and rolls with it. There's moments where you think, well, that could be dramatic if handled with better actors. But it's also part of the cliches of a zombie script. So it's more of an ode to the genre, I suppose, than, say, Killjoy, which is just trying to say, oh, clowns are scary. Black people need horror. Let's roll with that. There's just nothing to get invested with. There's no adventure for our characters. It's like, all right, let's put them up against the clown right away. And unlike that movie, our heroes actually fight. There's decent choreography for definitely somebody who shouldn't be directing action sequences in this feature. And a lot more effort it's got a larger cast. It's not just something that's like, all right, let's just capitalize on a genre that's untouched and do it simple with a killer clown, which, back up, Killjoy, the performance isn't that bad, but everything else around it is just plain bland. We're trying to make a bunch of college sophomores into heroes, and I think that's what makes it a fun movie. The direction is a hell of a lot better. There's actual attempts at trying to incorporate the action that you can't afford to really do into, well, as I say, with the Killjoy movie, you had like, oh, this guy's going to get hit with a car, and we're not really going to show you any of that. They at least try to make the cuts to make it work out. And there's a lot of fun, like, odes to just Roger Corman style cinema. Like, before our final battle, every one of these henchmen who are not, well, henchmen or soldiers who are going to defend this compound get their own little video game animatic, I suppose you'd say. As I say, it's live action. Obviously, they didn't afford animation at any state, but, they get to set themselves up like they're prepping for a fight in Street Fighter, or the intro to any fight in the modern Mortal Kombat games. So it's very tongue-in-cheek. They know they aren't going to make a masterpiece, but they're going to have fun with it, and that's just something you don't get out of the Killjoy feature. It's like, again, it's trying to capitalize on something that might not even be there in that case. Well, this was something I saw and was inspired by from a Drunken Zombie double feature in Peoria. So, really appreciate this movie. It's got the right kind of spirit. It just didn't have the Evil Dead budget, so I suppose you could should have gone and sat on it and kept working to get that money. But that's the difference between, I think it's University of Michigan people and people from Michigan State University. I guess my dad would appreciate that.
My name is Angela, and I'm mortally challenged. I think you need a hug. Oh, no, that's okay. No, that's fine, really.
How do you like being a zombie?
Don't use that word.
That's what I am. Undead and proud.
I think it sucks.
What you been eating?
I used to be a vegetarian.
A zombie vegetarian. That's funny. But you did start eating meat.
Told you about my ex-girlfriend Angela, right? She's one of them.
She's a zombie?
Everybody's out there fighting for the rights of these dumb, rotten corpses. Who's on our side, man?
Stay out of our neighborhood.
Man, if they let us in their army, that's it. Full-time zombie hunters, man.
I met Mel and the twins here, okay? And they introduced me to a whole new way of thinking.
You're a zombie! Now start acting like one and rip her butts out!
When the Commandant put together this whole army, I want to be a part of it.
I need men in my army, not a bunch of frat boys.
How can you win against an army of the dead?
We are his disciples, risen from the dead, like Jesus himself.
The original zombie man.
Eventually there's going to be a war. The question is, which side are you going to be on?
I'm taken by these zombies! But now, we have life!
Eventually you'll all be on our side sooner or later.
Intestines. I mean, the small intestines sometimes, but the large intestines, it just gets way too funky down there for me.
And I've just concluded watching, or should I say rewatching, Last Rites of the Dead. I remember it being on Netflix back 11 years ago as Zombies Anonymous, so I was expecting more of a comedy then. And I thought it had a better sense of humor. And there's some great subtle jokes in there. But it's really another message about basically, at least Americans and probably the rest of the world, are always looking for someone to put themselves above. In this feature, when you die, you just continue living. People are trying to continue their lives with their jobs despite their decomposing, so putting off other co-workers. And you have little vigilante groups against the zombies who just want to prove their superiority. And of course you have the issue that, well, if nobody's dying, how is society going to continue? So it looks a lot more at those questions than being a horror feature, I would say. Now, the gore is great, especially for the low budget. The violence is on point as best you can do for the budget. I would say that, only thing I can really complain about it is that we actually still do racist things when the entire point is that we're supposed to be racist towards the zombies. But hey, let's go and accuse a African-American character of the worst things we expect of them just for a bit, which was totally unnecessary. So, I'm not going to get great acting. Pretty much a lot of why couldn't they have made it the scary movie type performances. But there is some subtle humor still in there every now and then, and it just keeps you interesting. The narrative's worth it if you are a fan of the zombie genre.
Can I hear a wahoo?